The Meadowbrook Inn was the kind of place where truckers stopped for cheap coffee and families on road trips crashed for the night because it was close to the highway. At 8:43 p.m. on a Friday, the lobby buzzed with weekend energy, kids running around while parents checked in, a college basketball team spreading across every available chair, and behind the front desk, Emma Rodriguez, the evening operations manager, handling it all with practiced efficiency. She was processing a group reservation when the elevator doors opened and a woman stormed out, her face twisted with rage. "Where is the manager?" Emma looked up, her heart sinking. The woman was mid-40s, expensively dressed, the kind of guest who usually stayed at Hilton's, not places like the Meadowbrook Inn. Room 227, Mrs. Angela Crawford. She'd checked in that afternoon for a weekend corporate training event. "I'm the manager on duty. How can I help you, Mrs. Crawford?" "Help me? Help me?" Angela's voice cut through the lobby noise. Everyone stopped. The basketball players. The families. Even the kids went quiet. "You're disgusting, perverted staff has been taking pictures of me." Emma's blood went cold. "I'm sorry, what? Pictures? Through my window. I saw someone outside my room with a camera, taking pictures of me while I was getting dressed." Angela slammed her phone on the counter. "I demand to see your security footage right now, and I demand that whoever it was be fired and arrested." The lobby had gone completely silent. Emma could feel dozens of eyes watching, judging, waiting to see how she'd handle this. Her mind raced through protocols, guest privacy, staff protection, legal liability, crisis management. "Mrs. Crawford, that's an extremely serious accusation. Let me take you somewhere private where we can discuss." "I'm not going anywhere until I see that footage. And until you fire whoever was spying on me." Emma kept her voice calm despite her racing heart. "Ma'am, I absolutely want to help you, but I need to understand exactly what happened. Can you tell me when this occurred and what you saw?" 20 minutes ago. I was in my room, changing for dinner, and I looked out the window and saw someone standing in the parking lot with their phone up, clearly taking pictures of my window." "Of me?" Emma pulled up the hotel layout on her computer. Room 227 was on the second floor, facing the north parking lot. "What did this person look like?" "I don't know. It was getting dark. But they were wearing a dark jacket and they ran away when I screamed at them through the window." "Did you see if it was a man or a woman?" "I don't know. I was half naked in my room and someone was photographing me." Angela's voice was getting shriller. "Why are you asking me questions instead of checking your cameras?" A man from the basketball team stood up. "Ma'am, if someone was taking pictures of you without consent, that's a crime. The manager needs to call the police." "Exactly. Call them now." Emma's assistant manager, 23-year-old Chris Martinez, appeared from the back office, drawn by the commotion. Emma caught his eye and gave him a subtle signal, "Pull the parking lot footage from the last hour." "Mrs. Crawford, I'm going to review the security footage right now. But I want you to understand, if someone on my staff did what you're describing, they will be terminated immediately and I will personally ensure criminal charges are filed. This hotel does not tolerate that behavior." "Good. Because if you don't handle this properly, I'm calling the police myself and my lawyer and every news station in the state. This is assault. This is sexual harassment." Emma led Angela to the small business center, her mind spinning through possibilities. The Meadowbrook Inn had 8 employees on site right now. She knew every single one of them, some for years. Could any of them have done something like this? The thought made her sick. Chris appeared in the doorway, his face pale. "Emma, I've got the footage pulled up. You need to see this." They crowded around the small laptop. The parking lot camera showed the north side of the building, including a clear view of the second floor windows. Chris scrolled to 8:15 p.m. At 8:19 p.m., a figure appeared in the frame, dark jacket, jeans, baseball cap. They stopped in the parking lot, looked up at the building, and raised their phone. The angle was unmistakable, they were pointing it directly at the second floor windows. Emma's stomach dropped. There. Angela jabbed her finger at the screen. That's them. That's the person. Chris zoomed in, but the quality was grainy. The face was partially obscured by the cap. The figure stood there for about 30 seconds, phone raised, then suddenly turned and walked quickly out of frame. Can you tell who that is? Angela demanded. Emma studied the screen, her heart pounding. The build, the height, the way they moved, something was familiar, but she couldn't place it. I'm not certain. What do you mean you're not certain? Check your staff records. See who's working tonight. Figure out who that is. Mrs. Crawford, I will. But I need you to understand something, this might not be a staff member. This could be anyone from the street, another guest, someone. They were in your parking lot. On your property. You're responsible. Emma couldn't argue with that. You're right. Let me check the employee schedule and see who was on their break around that time. She pulled up the schedule on her phone. At 8:15 p.m., only 2 employees had been on break, Marcus, one of the maintenance guys, and Sophie, a housekeeper. Both had been with the Meadowbrook Inn for over 3 years. Both had spotless records. But one of them was wearing a dark jacket tonight. Marcus. Emma felt like she was going to be sick. Mrs. Crawford, I need to speak with my staff. Can you wait here for just a few minutes? I want to be there when you confront them. I want to look them in the eye when they try to deny it. Ma'am, that's not appropriate. This is a personnel matter. I'm the victim. I have a right to face my attacker. No one has been proven to be your attacker yet. Please, let me investigate this properly. After a tense standoff, Angela reluctantly agreed to wait in the business center. Emma found Marcus in the maintenance room, organizing his tools. He looked up and smiled when she entered. Hey, Emma. What's up? She felt her throat tighten. Marcus, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be completely honest. Were you in the north parking lot about 25 minutes ago? His smile faded. Yeah, why? What were you doing? Taking a break, having a smoke. Why? What's going on? A guest is claiming someone was taking pictures of her through her window. She saw someone in a dark jacket in that parking lot. Marcus's face went pale. Wait, what? Emma, I didn't take any pictures of anyone. I was just standing there smoking. Were you on your phone? I mean, yeah, I was checking texts from my girlfriend, but I wasn't. He stopped, realization dawning. Oh my God. The guest thinks I was photographing her? Were you looking up at the building? Maybe? I don't know. I might have glanced up, but I wasn't. Emma, you know me. I would never do something like that. Emma wanted to believe him. She'd worked with Marcus for 2 years. He was reliable, respectful, had never given any indication of inappropriate behavior. But Angela Crawford was absolutely certain someone had been photographing her. And Marcus had been in exactly the right place at the right time. Marcus, I need to see your phone. His face changed, from shocked to offended. You're serious? You actually think I did this? I don't know what to think. But a guest is accusing someone of a serious crime, and you match the description. If you're innocent, your phone will prove that. This is insane. I've worked here for 2 years. I've never had a single complaint. Then show me your phone and clear this up. Marcus stared at her, hurt and anger warring on his face. Finally, he pulled out his phone and handed it over. Fine. Look at whatever you want. You won't find anything because I didn't do anything. Emma opened his photo gallery with shaking hands. Recent photos showed selfies with his girlfriend, pictures of his dog, a screenshot of a work schedule. She checked his deleted photos folder, nothing suspicious. She checked his messages, texts with his girlfriend complaining about a long shift, asking what he wanted for dinner. Nothing. Absolutely nothing that suggested he'd been taking inappropriate photos. See? Marcus's voice was thick with emotion. I told you. I didn't do anything. Emma felt relief flood through her, but also confusion. If Marcus wasn't the person in the footage, who was? And how could she prove it to Angela Crawford? She returned to the business center where Angela was pacing like a caged animal. Well? Did you find them? Are they fired? Mrs. Crawford, I've spoken with the employee who was on break in that parking lot. I've examined his phone. There are no photos of you or your room on his device. Of course he deleted them. Check his cloud storage. Check his email. People like him know how to hide evidence. Ma'am, I've checked everything accessible on his phone. There's no evidence. Then check the other employees. Check everyone's phone. Someone took pictures of me, and I'm not leaving until you find out who. Chris appeared in the doorway again, looking uncertain. Emma, there's something else on the footage. I think you should see it. Back at the laptop, Chris pulled up a different camera angle, the main entrance to the hotel, which had a partial view of the north parking lot from a different direction. Watch this, he said, pointing at the timestamp 8:23 p.m. The figure in the dark jacket walked back into frame, but this time they were approaching the hotel entrance. As they got closer to the door, the lighting improved. Emma leaned in, squinting at the screen. Then her breath caught. The person was a woman. Definitely a woman, based on the build and movement. And as she turned slightly before entering the building, the camera caught a glimpse of her face. It wasn't Sophie. It wasn't any of their employees. It was someone Emma had never seen before. Who is that? Chris whispered. Emma's mind raced. Check the guest registry. See if anyone matching that description checked in today. Chris pulled up the system. Okay, we had 16 check-ins today. Let me filter for women, here. 8 women checked in as solo travelers or primary guests. They went through the list one by one, pulling up the ID photos that were scanned at check-in. The 5th one made Emma freeze. Jessica Moore. Room 231. Checked in at 6:47 p.m. Her ID photo showed a woman in her 30s with the same build, same facial structure as the person in the footage. Room 231. Right next to room 227. Oh my God, Emma breathed. She's staying right next to Mrs. Crawford. Angela had been watching over their shoulders. That's her? That's the pervert who was photographing me? We don't know for certain. Her room is next to mine. She was taking pictures of my window from the parking lot. Why else would she do that unless she was spying on me? Emma's investigator instincts kicked in. Mrs. Crawford, has anything else unusual happened since you checked in? Any strange interactions, anyone following you, anything that felt off? Angela's face changed, from angry to uncertain to something that looked almost like fear. There was, at dinner earlier. I went to the restaurant across the street. When I came out, I thought I saw someone watching me from the parking lot. But I figured I was being paranoid. What did they look like? I couldn't see clearly. It was already getting dark. But now. Angela sank into a chair. Oh God. Is someone stalking me? Emma felt the situation shift from hotel crisis to potential criminal matter. Mrs. Crawford, I think we need to call the police. Not because of my employee, he's cleared. But because if someone is targeting you specifically, that's a matter for law enforcement. But what about that woman? Jessica whatever? If she's involved, the police will handle it. But right now, I don't want to accuse another guest without more evidence. What I do know is that you feel unsafe, and that's my priority. Angela looked at Emma with tears in her eyes. I thought I was crazy. My ex-husband, we had a bad divorce last year. He's been sending threatening messages, showing up at my workplace, calling me at all hours. I got a restraining order, but... She pulled out her phone with shaking hands and showed Emma a text message from 3 days ago. You can't hide from me forever. Everything clicked into place. This wasn't about a hotel employee or a random guest. This was about a woman being hunted by someone who wanted to terrify her. Emma's heart broke and hardened simultaneously. "Mrs. Crawford, here's what we're going to do. I'm calling the police right now. While we wait for them, I'm moving you to a different room, one on a completely different floor, facing a different direction. And I'm going to personally make sure you're safe until the police arrive." "What about that woman in 231? "I'll knock on her door with a security escort. If she's connected to your ex-husband, the police will handle it. If she's just an innocent guest, then we apologize for the intrusion. But your safety comes first." For the first time since this started, Angela's face softened. "Thank you. I was so afraid no one would believe me." "I believe you. And I'm going to make sure you're protected." While Chris called the police, Emma and their security guard, a former cop named David who worked weekend nights, went to room 231. Emma knocked firmly. "Ms. Moore? This is hotel management. We need to speak with you." No answer. Emma knocked again, louder this time. Still nothing. David tried his master key. The room was empty. Completely empty, no luggage, no personal items, nothing. The bed was still made, the bathroom unused. "She checked in but never actually stayed here," David said quietly. "She just needed access to the building." Emma felt cold. "She's been watching Mrs. Crawford. Using this room as a base." They checked the parking lot cameras again, following Jessica Moore's movements. She'd entered the building at 8:23 p.m. after taking photos, gone up to the second floor, walked past Mrs. Crawford's room, and then disappeared from camera view near the back stairwell. She could still be in the building. "David, we need to do a sweep. Right now." As they began checking the halls and common areas, Emma's mind was already 3 steps ahead. Mrs. Crawford was in danger. Someone, maybe this Jessica Moore, maybe working with her ex-husband, maybe the ex-husband himself using a fake identity, had checked in specifically to surveil her. The police arrived 12 minutes later. Emma briefed them quickly, showing them the footage, the empty room, the threatening text messages from the ex-husband. Within 20 minutes, they'd identified Jessica Moore's ID as fake, a decent forgery, but not good enough to fool law enforcement databases. By midnight, Angela Crawford was safely moved to a third-floor room with extra security. The police had issued a bolo for the woman calling herself Jessica Moore, and every employee at the Meadowbrook Inn knew to be on high alert. Emma stood in the parking lot where it had all started, looking up at the second-floor windows. From here, she could see directly into room 227. If Mrs. Crawford had been changing clothes with the curtains open, anyone standing here would have had a clear view. But it wasn't about voyeurism. It was about intimidation. About making Angela Crawford know that she was being watched, that her ex-husband could find her anywhere, that she was never truly safe. Emma thought about Marcus, who she'd doubted even for a moment. She'd apologized profusely, and he'd accepted graciously, but the hurt in his eyes had been real. She'd have to find a way to make that right. She thought about how quickly she'd believed the worst about her own employee, but how close she'd come to dismissing Angela's fears as paranoia. The truth was always more complicated than it first appeared. People weren't always what they seemed. And sometimes, the person screaming in your lobby wasn't being dramatic, they were fighting for their life. Saturday morning arrived with the kind of crisp autumn air that usually made Emma grateful for her job at the Meadowbrook Inn. But today, after only 3 hours of sleep, she felt nothing but exhaustion. She'd stayed at the hotel until 2 a.m., making sure Angela Crawford was secure and coordinating with police. Now, at 9:47 a.m., she was back, ready to deal with whatever came next. What came next was Detective Sarah Kim from the local police department, standing at the front desk with an expression that made Emma's stomach tighten. "Ms. Rodriguez, we need to talk about last night." They went to Emma's small office, barely more than a converted storage room with a desk and 2 chairs. Detective Kim closed the door and pulled out a tablet. "We've identified the woman who checked in as Jessica Moore. Her real name is Vanessa Hartley. She's a private investigator from Chicago. Emma blinked. A private investigator? Licensed and legitimate. She was hired by Richard Crawford, Angela Crawford's ex-husband, to document evidence for their ongoing custody dispute. Their divorce involved a teenage daughter, and Crawford claims his ex-wife is unstable, unfit for custody. Wait. Emma felt like the ground was shifting under her feet. Are you saying Angela Crawford was lying about being stalked? No. She genuinely believed she was being stalked because her ex-husband has been harassing her. But Vanessa Hartley wasn't taking photos through her window for sexual reasons. She was surveilling Mrs. Crawford to document her activities for the custody case. That's still illegal, isn't it? Taking photos of someone in a hotel room? It's complicated. Hartley claims she was photographing the exterior of the building, documenting which room Crawford was staying in, and that she never actually captured anything through the window. According to her, Crawford happened to look out at the exact moment she was taking photos of the building facade. Emma's head was spinning. So what happens now? That's why I'm here. We've spoken to both parties. Richard Crawford insists he has every right to investigate his ex-wife's behavior for the custody case. Angela Crawford insists this is harassment and a violation of the restraining order. Technically, hiring a PI to surveil someone doesn't violate a restraining order as long as Crawford himself maintains the required distance. That's insane. It's the law. Detective Kim leaned back in her chair. But here's where it gets interesting. We pulled Vanessa Hartley's phone records. She's been communicating with Richard Crawford multiple times a day, including last night. And in one of those calls, Crawford specifically told her to make sure Angela knows she's being watched. Quote, unquote. Emma felt anger rising in her chest. So it was intimidation. It was. And that might be enough to bring charges for violating the restraining order. But Ms. Rodriguez, I need to ask you something. Your security footage is critical evidence in this case. I need you to preserve all recordings from yesterday, parking lot, lobby, hallways, everything. And I need you to testify if this goes to trial about what you witnessed. Of course. Whatever helps. There's one more thing. Detective Kim's expression softened. Mrs. Crawford wants to speak with you. She's still here, in the new room you moved her to. She asked specifically if you could come up. Emma found Angela in room 316, looking nothing like the furious woman from last night. She was in sweatpants and an oversized shirt, her hair pulled back, her face free of makeup. She looked exhausted and vulnerable and utterly defeated. Ms. Rodriguez. Emma. Thank you for coming. Angela gestured to the small table by the window. Please, sit. Emma sat, waiting. I owe you an apology, Angela said quietly. Last night, I screamed at you. I accused your employee of something terrible. I was convinced your hotel was employing a predator. And I was wrong. Mrs. Crawford, you weren't wrong to be scared. Someone was taking photos of your room. Your fear was legitimate. But I immediately assumed the worst about your staff. I demanded that innocent person be fired without any real evidence. That was wrong. She twisted her hands together. My ex-husband. Richard has spent the last year making me doubt everything. Making me suspicious of everyone. Turning me into this paranoid, angry person I don't recognize. Last night, I became exactly what he's been telling the court I am: unstable, irrational, quick to make accusations. You're not unstable. You're a woman being systematically terrorized by someone who's supposed to have loved you. Angela's eyes filled with tears. The detective told me about the phone call. About Richard telling that investigator to make sure I knew I was being watched. He's been doing this for months, having people follow me, call my work, show up at my daughter's school. All while claiming in court that he's the victim, that I'm keeping his daughter from him out of spite. What about your daughter? Where is she? With my sister in Colorado. I sent her there a month ago because I was afraid Richard would try to take her. Now he's using that as evidence that I'm an unfit mother, claiming I abandoned my child. She laughed bitterly. I can't win. If I keep her close, he terrorizes her too. If I send her somewhere safe, I'm abandoning her. Either way, he destroys me in court. Emma thought about the justice system, about how it could be weaponized by people with money and malice. What can I do to help? You've already done it. The security footage, your testimony about what happened, it proves Richard is still trying to control and intimidate me. My lawyer says this could be the evidence we need to finally get the judge to see what he's really like. Angela reached across the table, taking Emma's hand. And I need to make this right with your employee. The one I accused. Marcus? You don't have to. Yes, I do. Is he working today? An hour later, Angela Crawford stood in the maintenance room facing Marcus, who looked wary and uncomfortable. Emma stood nearby, ready to intervene if needed. Marcus, my name is Angela Crawford. Last night, I accused you of taking inappropriate photos of me. I was wrong, and I'm sorry. Marcus shifted his weight, clearly unsure how to respond. It's okay. You were scared. It's not okay. I could have ruined your life. I demanded you be fired without any evidence. If Ms. Rodriguez hadn't been calm and thorough, if she'd just believed my accusations without investigating. Angela's voice broke. You would have lost your job, possibly faced criminal charges, all because I was too quick to assume the worst. Why did you assume the worst? Marcus asked quietly. What made you so sure I was guilty? The question hung in the air. Emma tensed, waiting for Angela to get defensive, to make excuses. Instead, Angela said, because my ex-husband has spent a year telling me that every man is a threat, that I can't trust anyone, that the world is full of people trying to hurt me. He's been gaslighting me so thoroughly that I see danger everywhere, even where it doesn't exist. And last night, you paid the price for his psychological abuse. Marcus was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, my mom went through something similar. Her ex-boyfriend used to follow her, have his friends watch her, make her feel like she was going crazy. It took her 3 years to escape him and another 2 years to stop jumping at shadows. He met Angela's eyes. So I get it. I'm not saying what happened was okay, but I get it. Thank you, Angela whispered. That's more grace than I deserve. After Angela left to meet with her lawyer, Emma and Marcus stood in the maintenance room together. You handled that well, Emma said. I'm still pretty shaken up, to be honest. When you asked to see my phone, when I realized you actually thought I might have done it. He shook his head. That hurt, Emma. We've worked together for 2 years. I thought you knew me better than that. I do know you. But Marcus, I had a guest making a serious accusation, and you matched the description. I had to investigate. If I'd just dismissed her concerns without checking, and it turned out someone really was taking inappropriate photos, I'd have failed in my duty to protect our guests. So you had to suspect me to protect her? I had to verify the facts before making any judgments. That meant looking at your phone, yes. But I never believed you were guilty, I just needed proof that you weren't. Marcus considered this. I guess that makes sense. It still felt awful, though. I know. And I'm sorry for that. What can I do to make it right? Honestly? Keep doing what you did last night. You didn't just fire me on the spot because a guest demanded it. You investigated. You found the truth. You protected me even while you were checking the facts. That's all any of us can ask for. The rest of Saturday passed in a blur of police visits, lawyer calls, and managing the regular chaos of a weekend at the Meadowbrook Inn. At 4:17 p.m., Detective Kim returned with news. Richard Crawford has been arrested for violating the restraining order. The phone records showing him directing the PI to intimidate his ex-wife were enough. He's being held pending a hearing Monday morning. Emma felt relief wash over her. What about Vanessa Hartley? The PI? She's cooperating with our investigation. Turns out she's been uncomfortable with Crawford's instructions for weeks. She documented everything because she suspected he might be pushing her to do something illegal. Her records are helping build the case against him. And Angela's daughter? Angela is flying to Colorado tonight to bring her home. With Crawford in custody and facing serious charges, the immediate threat is gone. The custody evaluation is being reopened based on this new evidence. After Detective Kim left, Emma sat in her office, processing everything that had happened in the past 24 hours. A guest had screamed accusations in the lobby. An innocent employee had been suspected of a terrible crime. A woman had been revealed to be the victim of systematic psychological abuse. A private investigator had been caught on the wrong side of a legal line. An abuser had finally been held accountable. And through it all, Emma had been forced to make impossible decisions with incomplete information: when to believe, when to doubt, when to investigate, when to trust her gut. She thought about how close everything had come to going differently. If she'd fired Marcus immediately to appease Angela, an innocent man would have lost his livelihood. If she'd dismissed Angela's concerns as paranoia, a woman in danger would have been abandoned. If she hadn't insisted on checking the security footage from multiple angles, they might never have identified Vanessa Hartley. Every choice had mattered. Every moment of keeping calm when everyone else was losing control had mattered. At 6 p.m., as Emma was preparing to hand off to the night manager, Angela Crawford appeared in the lobby one last time. She was dressed for travel, her bags packed, her face lighter than it had been all day. "I'm heading to the airport," she said. "But I wanted to say goodbye. And to thank you for everything you did. You took a horrible situation and somehow made it survivable. You did the surviving, Mrs. Crawford. I just tried not to make things worse. You did more than that. You believed me when I was terrified. You investigated fairly when accusations were flying. You helped build the case that's going to protect my daughter." Angela's eyes were bright with tears. "You probably saved my life. You definitely saved my daughter's childhood." After Angela left, Emma stood in the lobby of the Meadowbrook Inn, watching guests come and go. A trucker checking in for the night. A family arguing about dinner plans. A young couple laughing about something on their phone. Normal people, living normal lives, with no idea about the drama that had unfolded in these walls over the past 24 hours. Emma's phone buzzed. A text from Marcus: "Just heard about Crawford's arrest. Thank you for handling everything the way you did. I know it wasn't easy." She typed back: "Thank you for understanding why I had to check. And for showing Mrs. Crawford grace when you didn't have to." As the sun set over the highway, Emma thought about trust and verification, about believing victims while protecting the accused, about the impossible tightrope that managers walked every single day. There were no perfect solutions. There was only doing your best, checking your facts, treating everyone with dignity, and hoping that justice eventually found its way to the surface. She'd made mistakes. She'd doubted when she should have trusted when she should have verified. But in the end, the truth had emerged. The innocent had been protected. The guilty had been caught. The victim had been believed. And everyone had gone home whole. Well, almost everyone. Richard Crawford was in jail, facing consequences for his actions. But even that felt like a kind of wholeness, a broken system being forced to acknowledge a woman's pain, to take her fear seriously, to hold an abuser accountable. Emma's phone buzzed again. This time, an email from corporate: "Excellent crisis management on the Crawford incident. Your handling of a complex situation has been noted for your performance review. Well done." She smiled, then deleted the email. She didn't need corporate recognition. She didn't need awards or commendations. She just needed to know that when someone screamed in her lobby, she'd found the truth. When someone was accused, she'd investigated fairly. When someone was in danger, she'd protected them. That was enough. At 6:47 p.m., Emma clocked out and walked to her car. Behind her, the Meadowbrook Inn glowed with warm light, full of travelers seeking rest, families seeking adventure, truckers seeking coffee and a bed. And somewhere in Colorado, a mother and daughter were reuniting, no longer afraid of the man who'd tried to destroy them. All because Emma Rodriguez, 30-year-old operations manager at a budget hotel off a Kansas highway, had refused to take the easy path. Had insisted on finding the truth, even when it was complicated and messy and required believing two contradictory things at once: that victims should be believed, and that the accused deserve fair investigation. She'd walked that impossible line. And somehow, miraculously, she'd found her way to the other side. Tomorrow would bring new crises, new impossible choices, new opportunities to get it wrong or right or somewhere in between. But tonight, she could rest knowing she'd done her job. She'd protected her people. She'd found the truth. She'd made sure everyone went home whole. Even when it was hard. Especially when it was hard. And really, what more could anyone ask? Emma drove home as the Kansas sky turned purple and gold, the Meadowbrook Inn fading in her rearview mirror, already preparing itself for whatever drama tomorrow would bring. But that was tomorrow's problem. Tonight, there was peace. Tonight, there was justice. Tonight, everyone was safe. And that, Emma thought as she pulled into her apartment complex, was everything.